Did you just started your tea journey? Don't know which tea to drink first? This tasting guide is meant for you. Hi guys, this is Gabriele from nannuoshan, where we share the pleasure of drinking and discovering genuine farm tea. If you're new here in our channel and you're also looking to expand your tea knowledge and brewing skills, make sure to click on the subscribe button and don't forget to give us a thumbs up if at any point of time you enjoy watching. So, today we are going to speak about the beginner tasting guide, an approach to tea when you are just at the beginning of your tea journey. And what happens sometimes? It happens that you realize that in the world there is much better tea than what you have drunk through all your life. And I know that feeling because that happened to me as well. And when it happens, you just want to discover more and you start gather information on the web, reading books, asking people, participate to tea forum, tea chat, reading blog, and you realize that there is so much to know about tea that is overwhelming, so much information that actually most people feel disoriented. So you start asking yourself, where should I start? Which is the best approach to start drinking tea at a certain level? And this guide is one of a possible approach to it. It's actually the approach that I would have followed if I could now go back 10-15 years and start over again. It's not only the only approach that's available there. Nonetheless, I will try to keep it quite general. But also to provide some clear example of tea I would start with and in which sequence, so that if you really want to choose yourself, you can use it as a guidance. But if you really just want, a very clear tea that you have to start with, you can just follow what I'm going to tell you. So, which is our goal when we start drinking tea at high level? It is actually, I would say we have two goals. The first one is we want to widen your tea knowledge, and the other one, we want to find out which tea we like the most, right? So before we start with the tea, actually, let me give you some general directions, let's say, on what to do maybe and what not to do at the beginning. The first thing, I would choose teas that are easy to brew. With easy to brew, I mean like this one. This is a white tea. White tea is probably the most easy to brew because it never gets bitter. You can steep it at low temperature, you can steep it at high temperature. If it is a real white tea, it barely gets bitter, and it's also very resistant against overbrewing. So if you forgot your brewing, that's not a big issue. Also, black tea is relatively easy, not as easy as white tea, but it's kind of easy to manage. Oolong tea is, I would say, is a gray zone. It's not too difficult to get a good taste out of it because generally oolong tea are very aromatic. But if you want to get all the nuances, they are complex tea and it starts being quite difficult. At the end of the scale, we have green tea and pu'er tea that, in my opinion, are the most difficult to brew actually. So this is one point, choose tea that are easy to brew. The other aspect is choose tea that are easy to understand and not only to brew. What do I mean to understand? To understand in terms of taste. And a tea that are easy to understand are tea that are either simple, white tea, very aromatic, oolong, and not bitter. Not bitter, for example, don't go for shampoo or for raw pu'er at the very beginning. You would be just feeling probably just bitterness and not be able to distinguish anything else than that, unless you know already today that you really enjoy bitter taste. Just give me a second. It's very hot, so I have to keep on drinking here. A last aspect is you want to keep your focus. What do I mean by that? Let me make you an example. Let's say that I go out on an evening and I have a very big tea session with some friends. We taste in a few hours 15 different teas. The next day I would be able to tell you all the tea that I've drunk in the same order that I've drunk them, and also tell you what I like the most, what I like the less. If a beginner does the same, the next day he would not be able to remember the 15 tea that he has been drinking. You can see it as an example with fruits. Let's say that in one evening you eat 15 different types of fruits. Apple, pears, strawberries, cranberries, pineapple, and so on. The next day, it's easy to remember which fruits you have tasted and which not, and also which is their taste, because you knew the taste even before. And if it was a particular crispy apple, you would remember it, for example. And the same is for me and for other tea experts with tea. We have a database of information. We've acquired information in our head about the different tastes of the tea, and so it is easy to understand. For you, if you are at the first step, is not, so you want to focus only on specific tea categories at the beginning. Understand the tea category and then move on. In my opinion, it's not a good idea to just buy 20 different samples and try them all. You won't learn a lot out of it. So, where to start? Let's say that before really starting the drinking, I would go through 3 different steps. One is to choose a tea category. Let's say I told you now already white tea is relatively easy to understand, is easy to brew, might be a good start. Let's start with white tea, and let's say that I choose MUDAN. This is a MUDAN, by the way, because it is a good example of white tea taste. Yeah, it's not too fancy, it's not too rough, so it's really an average, typical white tea. And maybe you go for one that is not too young, so no, don't go for a white tea that is 1 or 2 years old. A little bit older is better, maybe 3, 4, and also not one that is aged, like 7, 10 or more years. Then the second step is choose 2 teas. One we have already chosen, the MUDAN, as a reference. You want to choose another one that has to be a contrast tea, a tea that is belonging to the same category of the first one, but contrast it. In this case, we could go for an aged MUDAN, for example, for a MUDAN that is 10 or more years old. We could go for a white tea from another country, not from China. We could go for a white tea that is not sun-dried, for example, Yueguanbai from Yunnan in China, that have a different taste profile, and that helps you grasping how wide a category can be. The third step is to buy the tea. How much? I would go for 50 grams for each tea, not less, because you have to taste over and over again the same tea to really acquire the taste at the beginning. It's not enough to eat once a new fruit to remember how it tastes. It happened to me when sometimes I traveled to a tropical area and I discovered new fruits. It really requires some time, so that as soon as you hear that word, MUDAN, you know in your mind how it tastes. So then when you start drinking the tea, you also want to acquire some knowledge and use the opportunity to acquire some knowledge. So go on YouTube, search video about white tea, or search on blog, ask people, try to gather information about that specific category, and for a little time, forget all the rest. And then it's the time to start brewing the tea. I would follow the instruction given by the seller, and is a good starting point, and do that for 1 or 2 times and then adapt accordingly to your taste. But don't go instantly also trying the second tea, the contrast tea. Taste at least 3, 4, 5 times, 3, 4, 5 different tea sessions on different days, always the same tea, so that you really acquire the taste. And then when you will go to the other tea, to the contrast tea, you will well remember the first one and it will be easy to recognize the differences. I tell you, if you drink it just only once and then you go to the other one, unless you do parallel tasting at the same time, you won't be able to make a comparison. Unless, I mean, you're super good at that, but I'm just, speaking about general people and also how I was at the beginning of my tea journey, which is the purpose that you have to keep in your mind when you taste the tea. You want to understand the category, understand which is the characteristic taste of specific category, white tea. You want to acquire that taste. You want to be able to recognize the taste and really make it yours. And you want to understand if you like the tea or not. Well, what to do next? You can choose. You can either deepen further white tea if you would like so. If you feel like you don't feel the urge of trying all the rest, why not buy 1, 2 other white tea and understand them even better so that you can make that category really yours. Or if you want and you feel it is the time, just move to the next category. And I will tell you soon which category I would go next. Now, one important aspect, take your time. It doesn't matter if for 20, 30, 40 years you have drunk bad tea, there is still enough time in front of you. And if you start drinking many different things, you might ruin your journey. In particular, if you go for teas that you won't be able to appreciate yet. I always make the example with whiskey. If you, on a day, discover a good Jameson and you like the taste of a good Jameson whiskey, you start, I'm interested in whiskey, let's see what there is more. And then you take a very peculiar whiskey, maybe something that has been aged for 25 years, and you go and buy that and drink. You will not be able to really appreciate it as a really expertly drink at voodoo. You have to take it step by step. And when you are ready, the time will come and you can taste the other tea. Another thing that I wanted to tell you, sometimes you have for exactly the same tea, a shop that offers a standard version and a superior version. Don't spend more money on the superior version if you are not able to discern the two blind. The time will come when you will be able to distinguish different grade of leaves, different level of processing. But at the beginning, it could be that they taste exactly the same to me. I remember having that experience with Chim and Maofeng at the beginning of my journey. 2 different teas, actually the same tea, different quality, one will cost him double the other, and I wasn't able to tell the difference. And now, of course, I can. So, and in fact, speaking about black tea is a good choice for a second tea category, because I told you it's not too difficult to brew. And what is also interesting about black tea is that it's not a super wide category. I know black and green tea is the one that you hear the most, but oolong is much more challenging because it has a much wider spectrum of taste and varieties. So with black tea, you could start with the classic Chinese black tea. Black tea, as all other teas, was invented in China, so definitely is a good start. You can go for a LAPSANG SOUCHONG, but please choose the original version that the Chinese call SOUCHONG, and don't go for the export version that is just meant for foreigners and end up most probably in tea bags. You can also go for a classic black tea from the north of Fujian, like Tanyang Gongfu or ZHENGHE Gongfu. Or actually, you know what? A very good choice is also Chim and Hong Cha. Very classic tea, is known in the West with the name of Kimun, but again, search the original version, the one that also the Chinese drink, loose leaf, Chim and Hong Cha, and not the English version, let's say the one meant for the export, which in the West is known as Kimun and is also used for blends. As a contrast tea, you can go for a classic Indian black tea, Assam or Darjeeling. Maybe better second flush Darjeeling, because the first flush is a bit of a special type of black tea. Or you can go for a very aromatic black tea, for example, Jinjumei. or instead of that, you could choose a black tea that is made with large leaf varieties. And we have a few in our shop. We have Untitled Cha, we have also DIAN Cha, and of course most of the DIAN Hong, so black tea from Yunnan, are also made with large leaf variety. By the way, all the links that you see now on the screen during this video will be reported in the description below the video, so you don't have to hurry up. And I forgot the tea. You see, is white tea is not a problem. I can drink it and it won't be bitter. With any other tea, I would have ruined the tea. And what I was saying. Well, I forgot what I was saying, but that's about black tea. Yeah, I was saying actually about the link, that you find the link in the description below. Now, sooner or later, you might really feel the urge to drink what people speak most about, which is oolong and pu'er. For pu'er, please wait as much as you can. It requires time before you're ready to really appreciate it. Oolong, you can start even before black tea if you really feel like. And actually the choice which tea to choose is quite straightforward. In this case, I wouldn't simply choose a reference and a contrast, simply because it's very hard to find a reference for the whole category of the oolong. I would go for 4 different teas, still 50 grams each one of one of the 4 main subcategories of oolong tea, which are Hui rock tea, Hui yan cha in Chinese, Phoenix single bush, Huan dansong. Then you have a Taiwan oolong, and then you have greener oolong, usually from the south of Fujian. So if you really want some more straightforward suggestion for a Hui rock tea, you can go for a classic one, like for a classic Da Hong Pao. For a dansong, pick up whichever you want. There is not, everyone is good, let's say, and it's very hard to find one that is really representative of the whole category. Just pick up one, possibly something particularly aromatic. Read the description. Taiwan oolong, no need to go for high mountain tea, just go for a lowland, something like Tsuyu, Zhejichun, Jinshuan, something that grows also on low plantation. No need to spend too much money for high mountain tea at the beginning. And as a 40 tea, green oolong, of course, a classic example is a green TIEGUANYIN. All right, then what about green tea? I won't treat pu'er too much into detail in this video, and but for green tea is difficult to brew. I've done a few videos on the topic, so go ahead and have a look at that. And also I have to say it's difficult to find proper quality of green tea, because many shops won't keep the green tea in a refrigerator, or it might be that when they bought it, it was already too old, let's say. It is a very fresh product. If you want to enjoy all the nuances of green tea, you have to go for a very fresh product. So I've done a video about giving you a lot of tips about how to approach sourcing green tea. I think personally that was one of my best videos so far, so go ahead and have a look at that. There is really a lot of information in that video to go ahead and make a good choice for green tea. And then once you're ready, you can go ahead and try them out. A reference tea, I would go for a classic Chinese green tea. With classic, I don't mean famous. Don't go for Longjing, don't go for Biluochuan, for Anji Bai Cha, they are too fancy. A classic taste could be Guju Zisuan, for example, is a very good classic taste, or HUANGSHAN MAOFENG are a good classic tea. And all these names, as said, and the link are in the description below. Moreover, you want to choose a contrast tea, and for a contrast tea, for me, I would go very straight to a classic sencha from Japan. Very high contrast between the classic Chinese green tea of today and a sencha from Japan. That's pretty much it. I hope this will help you to make your first choice and second choice of tea to choose. In a nutshell, don't be too hasty. There is no need to hurry up. There is time. Take your time to understand a category, then move to the next, then move to the next. And whenever is the right time, stop and have blind tasting. Have you tasted already 4 white tea? Well, ask someone else to prepare them blind for you, or so to prepare them for you, you don't see, and then you taste them blind without even looking at the liquor. We have a few videos where we've done blind tasting, so you can take inspiration there and try to check yourself. Are you able to recognize them blind? If you are able to recognize them blind, don't cheat. Then you are definitely ready for the next category. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe our channel and give us a thumbs up. Bye bye guys.